Update. My 25 female best friend, 24 male, proposed to me. I'm confused and mortified. Where can we go from here? Original post. Frankly, I'm still in shock that this happened, so this might be all over the place. Bear with me. All fake names, etc., etc. Jordan and I met in university 2 years ago. We both started at the same time, and because of our ages, we were both considered mature students. We quickly became firm friends as we shared a dorm, and we joke around together about us being old enough to be considered mature in our early 20s. We weren't on the same course, but given we lived together, we would hang out pretty much all the time whenever we didn't have a lecture. We joined a bunch of societies together, went drinking every weekend together, etc., etc. It was a pretty sweet gig because it meant we were at least never alone. Obviously, we made other friends, both alone and together, but we were always each other's number one at the end of the day. At the moment, we're on spring holidays for Easter. And while we haven't hung out constantly, we decided to make plans to visit each other's hometowns because we're from very starkly different places. Today, we went to mine, a big city central. This morning, we went there and were wandering down the streets, doing some sightseeing because he's never been. There's typically a lot of street sellers here, trying to sell you everything from hot dogs to fluffy Pokemon hats. I decided I wanted to get a caricature done. I've never had one, and I thought it would be funny to get and hang over my bed when we got back for term. I asked Jordan if he wanted to get in, and he refused. No worries, so I sat down to get it done. They don't take very long, 5 to 10-ish minutes, so I stayed. Looked straight forward at the artist the entire time. He finished the caricature. I loved it. So obviously I turned to show it properly to Jordan. When I turned though, I literally don't even know what to say. He's down on one knee, holding up a ring box. I don't even really know what he said, if he did a whole proposal speech thing, because I was so confused. I was barely paying attention. Remember again, this is a super busy tourist city, so this has drawn a mini crowd now, coming over to cheer us on. I couldn't help but burst into laughter. To be honest, I thought this was some kind of odd prank type thing. We never have been prankster types or whatever, but I couldn't come up with a reasonable explanation. So I just laughed and laughed and laughed, until I looked at Jordan and he looked genuinely heartbroken. So obviously I asked him something along the lines of, "You're not being serious." This is the only thing I remember him saying. He shut the box, stood up, shrugged and said, "I guess not anymore," and walked off. This left me standing pretty awkwardly in this gathered crowd of people, a lot of whom were giving me dirty looks, which made me incredibly uncomfortable. The plan was to meet back up a hotel that we had booked rooms next door to one another. So I figured that's where he's going and head back that way. But he's not there, so I wait and he still doesn't return. I text him out of concern. This was at 1:15 p.m. It's currently 6:20 p.m. as I'm writing this, just asking if he's okay. He responds with a long message back, which I would post because it's an odd read, but I won't out of respect for his privacy, in which he basically accuses me of leading him on, asking why I didn't break up with him sooner, saying I had publicly humiliated him and that he thought I loved him the same way, and that I felt our relationship was strong enough to consider taking the next step. Now, this is completely out of left field. I literally have got no idea where in the world he's got this idea from. The closest we've ever physically been is a hug, hello, and goodbye. I've never even jokingly flirted with him for exactly this reason. I've had too many friendships collapse because they can't tell the difference between serious, interesting, and joking banter in friendships. So I've been extra careful to not. We've never kissed, never been on date, never had sex. I do not find him physically attractive, and I wouldn't want to be in a relationship with him. I don't understand where on earth he's got this idea that we are. This isn't something he's ever brought up before this, and I'm genuinely bewildered. He hasn't returned to the hotel yet. I periodically knock to check, and have been listening out for him walking up the hallway or anything. Nothing. I haven't responded to his long paragraph, because honestly, I don't know how to. I'm just so stunned and taken aback that I genuinely have no idea where to go from here or what to do. I haven't told anyone I know in person yet, mostly because I don't want to bring this up to people who know Jordan. So here I am turning to strangers on Reddit instead. What in the world do I do? Now for the top advice before reading the update. If/when he returns, I would only meet to discuss this in a public area. It doesn't sound like he is taking it well, and his perception of reality seems to be questionable. Be careful. This, as a woman, you have to always think of your safety first, before you can consider his feelings. Keep yourself safe above all else. I hope they aren't still sharing a dorm like she mentioned in her post. He is at the age where severe mental illness can really manifest. Reach out to his family and share your concerns. Normal, healthy-minded people do not imagine years-long romantic relationships with people. I would also avoid being alone with him until it's confirmed that his grasp on reality is not tenuous. Thank you. I don't really know any of his family, but I'll see what I can do. Is he religious by any chance? This could possibly explain how he could see the lack of any physical intimacy as compatible with dating. You're staying pure. I assume you've never dated/hooked up with anyone during your friendship with him? He's Catholic but non-practicing. He believes in God and the Bible and such, but he doesn't go to church, and as far as I know, he isn't very strict in his beliefs. I've had hookups, but no relationships. He hasn't had any relationships, but I'm not sure about hookups. We don't even talk about that stuff with each other, to be honest. Outside of the occasional his fit, I would while people watching. This kinda happened to me. Like, not to the point of proposal, but I lived with a male roommate who was already a close friend of mine for several years. When I was moving out, he confronted me and basically said he thought we should continue our relationship and get married and get a pet, and I need to break my new lease and stay with him, among many other really unhinged things. It was absolutely out of character, and like you, we were friends for years. And there was never any indication that we were anything else. And I dated while we lived together. Long story short, he was having a mental breakdown and eventually got psych help. We reconnected like a year later and he explained this, and that he basically had a psychotic break and why. It's been like 7 years now, and we're still good friends to this day, lol. He's stable now and has a long-term girlfriend, and we're good friends as well. I would seriously recommend you alert someone to his mental state and not re-engage until he is back to reality, if/when that happens. Edited to add, I don't want to sound like I'm minimizing this. You need to be away from him. Wouldn't really recommend going to his hotel room, etc. If you have to meet, do it in public. Regardless of if it's mental health related or if he's gaslighting/manipulating you on purpose, he's not stable, so do not be around him. Either your presence will continue to add to his delusion or you risk your safety, or both. My first thought was mental breakdown. You need to contact his family members ASAP, as well as your own family and friends, to inform them of the outline of what's going on. It's not nice. I know you don't want to embarrass him, but at least one other trustworthy person needs to know the full story. Stay with friends. Do not meet with him unless in public. And bring a friend you know could physically back you up, who can stay on the sidelines. Bottom line is, he needs a psychiatric evaluation. He may be violent. Family needs to know that no matter how he is presenting. If this is a psychotic episode, he can escalate to violence suddenly and without warning. Do not make physical contact if you can avoid it. Do not invite him in. If this is delusion, he can quickly become convinced that family members or you yourself are imposters, and that his family is in danger, or any number of similar ideas. Now for the first update. Jordan did in fact not come back to the hotel. I stayed up until 1 a.m. before falling asleep, and he didn't return. When I woke up the next day, the hotel staff let me know he had checked himself out at about 6 a.m. I did end up responding to his big, long text. I took everyone's advice and told him that I was sorry it didn't go as he had expected, but that I wasn't sure where he'd got the impression that we were together. I said I'd be happy to sit and have a discussion about it all, so we could make sure we're on the same page. He was not happy about this at all, and he again went off, which a bunch of the same type of thing he'd said in his first message. It didn't really seem to be going through his head at all. Even in these new texts, he kept referring to this all as me breaking up with him, despite me explicitly telling him we are not and never have. Again, all his messages were very clear and coherent, even if what he was saying was not based in reality at all. He wasn't sending paragraphs, just sentences in really quick succession, which was blowing my phone up. He told me he didn't want to meet up with me to talk, because I had ripped out his heart and crushed it in public. I did ask him for specific instances he could recall between us that made him think we were dating, but he completely ignored the question and just kept going on and on about how hurt he was that I was breaking up with him and how he felt his world was ending. He said he loved me more than anything and had felt so confident that I had too, which is why he felt so certain about proposing to move our relationship along. Eventually, to be honest, I grew pretty tired of the conversation and stopped responding because it was just going around and around in circles. Me asking where he got this idea, him ignoring this and telling me how hurt he is and breaking up with him over this, etc., etc. He went on and on saying he thought it would be a ring I like because it was my favorite gem, ruby instead of diamond. It's got me wondering how much he actually spent on his damn thing. I didn't look very clearly at the ring, so I couldn't tell if it was something super expensive or not, and that he had been working up the courage to do so for a while, and figured doing it when I was at home would make it more special. For a while, he was just talking to himself in my texts because I wasn't responding anymore. When I checked back about 20 minutes later, I had something like 60 messages from him. Granted, they were all one sentences. At the very end, he apologized and told me that it didn't matter anyway, because I wouldn't see him around anymore. Obviously, I was concerned, so I asked for clarification. He said that he was going to drop out of university and go back home, because he couldn't deal with the shame. That's where our conversation ended. I didn't really know what to respond to that. As it stands now, I don't really know where Jordan is. I didn't ask him, which is my bad. I'm not sure if/when we will talk again. I'm sorry this is quite a boring update. Unfortunately, I can't excite everyone with and then he turned up at my door and then he sent me flowers or whatever. It feels a lot isn't answered. I still don't know where he got the idea we were dating from. He hasn't explained that. So I'm sorry I can't give everyone that answer. I haven't reached out to his family yet. I did consider it, but if he's not having a mental health crisis, I don't really want to involve them unnecessarily. I understand not wanting to involve family, but as you are close and in college, surely there are other friends/people who know you both you could reach out to and ask. You don't even have to go into specifics. Just be like, hey, did you think that Jordan and I were dating? Have you heard Jordan refer to us as dating? Get a sense of whether this is something ongoing and he's just a regular weirdo, or if this is something concerning that should be brought up with family or mental health professionals at your school. We do share some mutual friends. I haven't really considered reaching out to them, but I'll definitely think about doing so. I feel like someone would have told me if he had been saying that to them though, but obviously I'm not certain. I haven't told anyone in real life about it, not even my parents. Just been keeping under the near total anonymity of Reddit, but I can definitely see why it may be important to do this. I would recommend telling your parents, just in case anything else were to happen. Second update. So adding on, a lot of people said I should ask our mutual friends if he's ever brought this up before, ever suggested we were dating, etc. All of the people I've asked, granted it was only 5, said that they've not got a clue, and he's never mentioned it before now. I don't know then if this is something that he's newly started thinking or if it's been something long-term, etc. Either way, in addition, I've also screenshotted all of his texts and such, just in case. Reading back on them, not with a slightly less confused mindset, they read pretty manic. Still haven't heard back from his mom just yet. Last story. My boyfriend proposed and now I don't want to marry him anymore. I know this might seem stupid and ungrateful, but honestly, I am too upset to even care. 2 days ago, my boyfriend proposed to me at a McDonald's near our house. He got on his knees in the middle of us eating and asked if I wanted to marry him with a silver ring. Some people were looking at me with happy faces and others with looks of pity and disgust. That is how I felt in that moment. I didn't say anything. I literally just sobbed and nodded my head because I didn't want to embarrass him. The reason I am mad over his wave proposal was because 1, we don't talk about him proposing every day, but we probably talk about it twice a month with him usually bringing it up. I told him I wanted my mom, dad, and my sister to be there if it was possible, and for it to be in a romantic setting. 2, I hate silver jewelry. I'm a gold girl and he knows it. I told him I would never want a silver ring, and if it does buy me any jewelry, it's gold. I feel like if you're asking someone to spend their life with you, then it should be more thought out and planned. I don't think this is the type of person I want to marry, but I don't know. I've been trying to convince myself since yesterday that maybe I hyped up the proposal in my head too much, that whatever he did would not top it off. I think anything but that would have been better. Now for the top advice before the edit/mini update. Maybe it's just me, but it seems like he went out of his way to propose to you exactly how you didn't want. Like he spent some time to think of and plan, so it's exactly how you'd hate it. I was thinking the same thing. I understand maybe getting the wrong ring. Hey, maybe he forgot. But to do it at a McDonald's when she specifically asked for a romantic setting and her immediate family to be there? Didn't seem too hard to do all that, but difficult to forget. Yeah, he actively did everything she didn't want. You could have forgotten everything. Could have forgotten gold instead of silver. Could have forgotten she wanted family there. Could have forgotten she wanted a romantic setting and end up proposing in a restaurant. Could have developed dementia the day before and forgotten absolutely everything that she wanted. And still, who the heck proposes in a McDonald's? Is he trying to get you to break up with him? Because this is so wrong. It feels like he did this on purpose. It's the McDonald's for me. It's like he purposefully did everything the opposite of what she wanted. No family, silver instead of gold, and specifically chose a terrible location as the final nail in the coffin. No way a genuine proposal would take place at a McDonald's of all places. Edit/mini update. I didn't expect this to get as much comments as it did. I wanted to answer some things and comments people have put. Why I wanted a gold ring. I wanted a gold banded ring because I only own gold jewelry. I never said it had to be expensive. I literally would have been happy with a simple ring with a gold band. I was more mad at the fact he knows how much I love gold and has bought gold jewelry for me before. We make jokes about how much I hate silver jewelry. How old are you guys? I'm 28 and he's 32. Do you not love him anymore? I love him the same amount still. We've been together for 7 years, and I don't think you can ever stop loving someone that quick. If you loved him, then you would accept any proposal. Well, if someone purposefully asks you what you want your proposal to be like and then they don't make it anything near it, I wouldn't be mad if he did it at the park, the diner where we usually go out to eat with our family, etc. I wanted the place to have more meaning and to be more romantic. Also, for the people who think romantic equals fancy, you guys are dead wrong. Now, to the people wondering if I ever said anything about it, I did. We had a long conversation and he said that he'd rather just get it done quick than pushing our whole lives to do it. It obviously hurt my feelings that he'd want to get something done quick that has to do with him asking me to be in his life forever. He apologized and then said he'd propose in a different way. I didn't really know what to say because it felt like I was asking him to propose instead of him wanting to do it. We are not broken up, but we are also not engaged. We are in a weird place right now because I feel like a proposal is a big thing and he messed it up trying to rush it. Another thing is that he is literally my dream man. He takes me out to dinner every Friday, buys me things without me having to ask, and takes me out on trips spontaneously. This whole thing just threw me off all the way, which is where a lot of this anger and sadness is coming from. I didn't want this post to seem like I hated him, so I'm sorry if you thought that.